Hey everyone, it's Sydney. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. And if you're new, welcome. I share stories about my experience going to prison and some tips for like how I managed to stay so positive and get through the toughest times of my life. So today I'm going to be sharing the story about when I was put into the dry cell when I first got to prison. This is definitely going to be the hardest video for me to talk about because I am honestly traumatized and I've been putting off making it, but I feel like the sooner I get it out there and just get it off my chest, the sooner I can try to start forgetting about it, because it is honestly really hard for me to even think about. And yeah, it was honestly the most fucked up situation I've ever been in. Also, if anyone happens to be like a lawyer, an attorney, or know someone, maybe you can help me and see if I can get some sort of lawsuit going, because I deserve some compensation for what happened to me, and you'll see why as I explain the situation. So, when I first got to prison, I was transported from county jail to the main women's prison in Washington, and I was with a group of about 5 or 6 people that all came from the east side of the state, from different county jails over to Western Washington, where the women's prison was. When we got there, sorry, gotta fix my hair. As soon as we got out of the transport vehicle, they made us put on these like hazmat looking suits. It's like this white cloth suit that zipped up and covered our feet and everything. I'm pretty sure we had to take our shoes off and then actually, no, I think we had to put them on over our shoes and over all of our clothes to go through the X-ray body scanner that was supposed to be replacing strip searches. So this was to see if we were sneaking anything in our clothes or inside of us. And so the only issue with that is that it was still very new, and apparently nobody knew how to really read it. Before going to the women's prison, we had to stop at one of the county jails where we were held there for a while as a group. And basically one of the officers told us about this machine that we were going to be going through, because she was making us take off all of our hair ties that we had. And she said, oh, you could just sneak it in like your JJ like everyone else does. She's like, except for that won't work anymore because now we have this scanner that will see whatever is inside of you. And so she literally told us this was going to happen. So we all threw away our hair ties. Obviously, I would not like sneak anything in after knowing that, or at all, because I was already so terrified to be going to prison. I already never wanted to do anything bad again. I wasn't going to get myself into trouble or do anything, like try to sneak in any contraband in or anything. So that was like absolutely not an option for me, which is why this story I'm going to tell you is so fucked up. So they start making us go through the scanner, and they have like 5 officers looking at the like X-ray machine thing, like trying to determine like, and you could tell pretty soon going into it that they had no clue what they were doing, because they made everyone go through the scanner again and again, and then they would be kind of discussing it like, oh, this could be this, and then they would make us go through again. Then they would make us get strip searched and make us go through the scanner again. And one by one, they kind of start saying like, okay, this person's good to go. This person's good to go. So I went through the scanner multiple times, got strip searched, and then I was like, so I'm good? Like, you saw that there's nothing inside of me. Like, I passed the strip search. They made me go through the scanner one more time. They're like really like debating it. And at this point, it's only me and one other girl now. And the girl was like, yeah, of course, they choose the people with delivery charges. Like, they're definitely pinpointing us because they think we're going to be sneaking drugs in. And so they say, basically, no, just because you didn't have anything inside you for the strip search, that doesn't mean that you didn't swallow something. Like, you could have definitely still swallowed something. So for some reason, whatever they were seeing on my scanner, they thought that I had swallowed something and had something inside me, some sort of contraband, probably drugs, like, is what they were assuming. So they let the other girl go and then decided, no, this girl seems suspicious. So they take me to what is called the dry cell. So they handcuffed me, and or maybe I was already handcuffed. I think I might have been, because when I was doing the scan, we had to like put our arms up, and I'm pretty sure I had handcuffs on, but they grabbed me by my arms, 2 officers. They start walking me to this other building, and the lady officer is like, you just really pissed some people off because people are gonna have to work overtime now to watch you. And I was like, you mean you pissed someone off? Because I don't have shit inside me, so like, that's not my problem if you guys don't know how to read the scanner. Like, it would be one thing if I actually was trying to sneak something in, but I wasn't. So right off the bat, they're being really fucking rude to me and just like accusing me of having something inside me. They were like, just admit it. What did you bring? Like, what do you have? And I was like, I don't have anything. Like, I'm so terrified. This is my first day of prison. I'm already so scared, and thought that for sure I would pass this scanner test because I knew nothing was inside me. And then I started like questioning myself because they are so accusational. I'm like, what could it possibly be in me? Like, there's no way I would have swallowed something and not remembered it, right? So I'm like really freaking out. And so they put me into this building and made me sit for a long time, and they took all my vital signs. So like they had and basically that's where I did my like intake process, was just by myself. So I don't really even know how it usually happens, but basically they had like a nurse or something come in and like take my vital signs, ask me a bunch of questions like drug history, if I ever have injected drugs, if I'm pregnant, and I was like, I hope not. Like, I don't fucking know. They do all of these things. They ask me multiple times what I snuck in or like what I have inside me. And I'm like, I don't know. At this point, I'm really like freaking out because I'm like, is this how I find out that I have like a tumor, or is this how I find out that I'm pregnant? Like, I literally, my mind is racing. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how they could possibly be seeing something inside me that isn't there. So I'm like, at this point, really freaking out thinking that I'm pregnant. So they made me strip search again and pee in front of them to take a drug test, which they told me was a pregnancy test, but it was a drug test. And which, like, I don't get why they would lie about that, but they were calling it a pregnancy test. It wasn't, though. I passed the drug test, obviously, and then they make me get changed into, they give me this, like, a pair of underwear and a bra that's, like, a sports bra, cotton. And if you want to know more about, like, that, you can watch the video that I posted about, like, what we had to wear in prison. So it was just those underwear, like, granny panties and a bra. And then they put me into what they called like the monkey suit, or some people call it the turtle suit, but it's basically a dry cell suit. You can look up a picture of it. It's covered at the feet. It's all white. And then it goes up your legs and then up and over. So it's basically a full body suit, right? It cuts off at like the top of the neck, and it zips all the way from the crotch up the back, and then has a lock at the back of the neck that they lock, and so I couldn't possibly get anything into it. And then it zip ties at the wrists and at the ankles, and my feet are covered. And the point of that is so that if I had anything inside me, I wouldn't be able to get it out. Like, I wouldn't be able to like secretly sneak it out and like hide it somewhere or flush it down the toilet or whatever. Need to take some deep breaths. So yeah, they put me in this suit, which was like an extra, extra large. So it's way too big for me. So my feet are like, the feet that are covered are like dragging on the floor so much. And I forgot to mention that at the time, I literally had a sprained ankle. Like, I came into prison with crutches. So I could barely walk. They took away my crutches and I could barely walk. Like, I was limping. And so after they did the drug test and put me in that suit, they put me into this room that was just looked like a room that would be in like an insane asylum. Like, all the walls were white and it was like cement brick walls, and then like a really, really bright bar, like LED light, and then just a mat on the floor. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen like a prison mattress or like a jail mattress, but it's like a mat that is like also a pillow, like one part is thicker at the end. And then they gave me one blanket, and there was a toilet in there, but it was all duct taped up because I wasn't allowed to use it. anytime I had to go to the bathroom, I had to be escorted to this like open shower that had like a bucket, and I'll explain why in a second. But I'm put into this room, they unhandcuffed me. Oh my God, I totally forgot. This is the worst part. Before they unhandcuffed me, after they put me in the suit, I'm still handcuffed and they're trying to take off my handcuffs. They got one off and then the key broke. Inside the handcuff, the key broke. So I have now a handcuff stuck to my wrist and I couldn't get off, but I have really, really tiny wrists. So I would have been able to slide it off, but I didn't want to like do that and be like, look, I could just take it off. So, but they're like, oh no, what do we do? What do we do? And as they're trying to fuck around with it, they tighten it like 3 more notches on accident. So now it's really stuck and there's no way I can slide it off. They had to like call in like a maintenance person and like break the handcuff off of me. Okay, so then I get put into that room and basically it's walls and then a door, and like the wall with the door on it is like a big window, and on the other side of the window is a desk, and an officer had to sit and watch me at the desk at all times. I had to be under constant surveillance of an officer, which is why they were saying, oh, you're gonna piss people off because people are gonna have to work overtime to watch you, because they had to not take their eyes off me at all and document every single thing I did. So every time I ate, they had to write down exactly what percentage of food I ate, or like an estimate. They had to write down if I was sleeping, if I was awake, if I was talking to them, or like anything. They had to write down every time I used the bathroom. They had to document it, right? And give like a time stamp. This is crazy. And they gave me like a form, or like the, what's the word I'm thinking of? The policy. They gave me the policy to look over and like sign. And in it basically says like what my rights are, which was not a lot, but it basically said you have to stay in this room for either until you do 3 bowel movements that are clean, so that I'm not shitting out any like drugs, or after 84 hours. That's the max, right? Okay. I go in on a Thursday, get into the dry cell at about 4 o'clock. I'm looking over all these things, right? They tell me that they're gonna give me these meals. This is what I have to do if I have to use the restroom. And they would have a nurse come in and check every hour to check my vitals if necessary. So I'm super upset, and the first person that was assigned to watch me was being so incredibly rude, like totally accusing me of having something right. They're like, why would you try to sneak something in? And I was like, I wasn't. I'm trying to explain my story that like I literally got arrested a year ago and have cleaned up my act and still came to prison. Like I, in my opinion, like don't deserve to be here, right? Like I should not be here, especially here in this dry cell, because I don't have anything. I wouldn't do that. So I'm like really upset because she's being so rude. And every time I had to use the bathroom, I had to tell them that I had to use the bathroom, and then they had to get another officer or like a sergeant or something to come get me. I had to stick my arms through the door so that they could handcuff me, and then they would open the door and grab, so one officer on this side, one officer on this side, and like hold me and walk me to the end of the hall where there was that like open shower. And then it was just a bucket and like what's called a hat, which is like what you have to pee in anytime you do like a drug test or anything in prison. And it's basically just like a little like plastic thing that like holds your pee and stuff. I would have to go up against the wall and like hold my arms up like this, so where they could see, and I'm handcuffed, right? And they would unlock the lock at the back of my neck and unzip it for me. And then I had to try to like maneuver and like get it off my shoulders while handcuffed and get it down, pull down my underwear, and then go to the bathroom. And then they would like hand me a piece of toilet paper and I had to like try to wipe. It was so hard and so frustrating. And then when I was done, I had to stand up, show them the toilet paper and like throw the toilet paper in the trash and then walk away. And then they would like inspect whatever came out of me. And then I had to go back to the wall and they would re-zip me up and lock up my thing again. And if I had to go number 2, they had to like go through it with a popsicle stick and like inspect to make sure that no contraband came out. And the super fucked up thing is, they really didn't want to be the ones to do it, and like shifts switched every 4 to 8 hours. So they would literally like sometimes not let me go to the bathroom because they didn't want to be the ones to deal with it. Like, isn't that so messed up? They're like, can't you wait till next shift? Like, whatever. But since they said like after 3 bowel movements, I can get the fuck out of there, I was asking for prune juice like every 4 seconds. I was like, let me get another prune juice, because the nurses that would come in to check my vitals, they said that I could have prune juice to help me like regulate or whatever, right? Luckily, one thing that was nice is that they did let me have a book in there so I could at least read, but the light was so bright, it was giving me a migraine. I'm laying on that mat on the floor. I would read for a few pages, then I would get such a bad headache, I would have to like close my eyes and like lay down and try to sleep. So I was basically just in and out of sleep. It really sucked, you guys. Like, it was so hard. Some of the officers that talked to me were a lot nicer. And the thing is that I went in there really, really positive. Like, if you know the kind of person that I like am or was going into prison, you know that I had like the most grateful, positive mindset imaginable for my situation. And so I was really, really trying to be pleasant and like not get upset. I was like, it's not these people's fault that are watching me. There's no reason to give them attitude. And a lot of people were like, a lot of the officers that had to watch me, because there was a lot, because I was in there for 5 days, they were like really, really happy that I was being so kind to them. I also forgot to mention that it was literally mid-July and 80 fucking degrees inside because there was no air conditioning in my little cell thing. They didn't give me a fan or anything, and it's just like one little tiny window at the ceiling that like was letting in so much sunlight and so much heat. It was so hot in that suit that I'm in. I'm sweating balls. Like, I literally thought I was gonna pass out at times. When the nurse came around to see if I wanted to get my vitals checked, I would always say yes, just because I got to go out of the room and like sit in front of the fan. Like, I knew I didn't need my vitals checked because the reason they do that is in case you ingested drugs, right? Like, if you swallowed drugs and you were like waiting for them to pass through in case something happened. So they probably thought that that was like suspicious that I was kept asking to get my vitals checked and like my blood pressure, you know, all that. But it was literally just because I was so sick of laying in there and needed a change of scenery, even if it was just outside of the door, and so that I could be in front of a fan. So after hours and hours and hours and days, the light, by the way, never turned off. So even all night long, it was super bright, and all I had was that one blanket. And since it was so hot, I didn't need the blanket on my body, so I would just use it to cover my face. And then they would yell at me for covering my face because they needed to see if I was alive. It was just this whole big thing. It was so painful and awful. And I forgot to mention, oh my God, I keep remembering things that just make it worse and worse and worse, because it was like literally so bad, and I try not to ever think about it because obviously I'm traumatized. The day I got in there, I started my period. So that was really fucking terrible, but I was like, okay, at least I'm not pregnant. But then what the fuck were they seeing inside of me? Now I'm like really scared. I'm like, I need to go to the doctor. Like, but I started my period, and so I had to like deal with that while all this. And remember the process that I told you about going to the bathroom, like, it's not easy. Luckily, they were able to cop me some wet wipes, like one of the really nice officers. And then they got in trouble for giving me wet wipes, and I was like, dude, like, excuse me? This is so messed up. But yeah, trying to like, and they would only let me use a pad, so like having to put on a pad through my like, I can't even, oh my God, it was so bad. It was so bad. Then they were like questioning, because keep in mind, the shift changes every 4 hours, I'm pretty sure. And so they would be like, oh, why are you bleeding? Is it because you swallowed some razors and are trying to sneak them in? And I was like, what the fuck? No, like, oh my God, no, who would do that? So, whew, Man, everything in there was just so mind-blowing, man. Like, okay, and this is what really gets me. So I'm downing these prune juices, right? Trying to get 3 bowel movements out so I can get the fuck out of there. And by the time the third one happens, I'm like, okay, can we get this ball rolling? Like, can I go through the scanner again and then leave? Like, you want to join me? Hi. Hi. Yeah, you know I'm upset. Oh, thank you. Go lay down. Thank you. I literally have no idea what I was talking about. Oh, so yeah, I was like, can I go through the scanner again and get out of here? Because it literally said in the policy, either after 84 hours or 3 bowel movements. And by the time my third one happened, it was like Saturday afternoon and I got in there Thursday afternoon. So I was like, sweet, let's go. And then they told me, no, you actually can't. We don't have anyone to scan you today. Like the whatever scanning technician or whatever that read the thing initially, she doesn't work on weekends. She doesn't work on weekends. And it was Saturday afternoon. So I didn't even get to get re-scanned until Monday afternoon. And nobody wants to be responsible because, like I said, shift keeps changing, right? Nobody wants to be the one that has to deal with that. So every single shift, I'm like, hello, like, can someone figure out when the fuck I can get the fuck out of here? Like, look back at the thing. Like, I qualify. So it had literally been like 95 hours that I was in there. And the policy clearly says that I get to leave after 3 bowel movements or 84 hours, whichever comes sooner. And I was in there for 95 hours. So if someone is a lawyer, please help me out. Like, I need to get my bag from this because I still have nightmares about it. I don't think I'll ever get over it. Like, it was so horrible. And I think just like the way they were treating me was definitely the worst. And after I went to the bathroom, I was not allowed to use a sink or anything. Like, they gave me hand sanitizer, or they would like put like a little bowl inside the slot of my door and let me like wash it with warm water. But oh my God, it was so fucking hot in there. Like, putting my hands in hot water was like not the move, but you gotta do what you gotta do. They didn't let me shower. The policy says you can shower once every 7 days because they can technically like request an extension if there is a reason. They did not do that. They didn't ever request anything. So I was held in there way longer than I was supposed to. Now I'm just like pissed off thinking about it. The funny thing is that when I was in there, I was like so pleasant. A lot of the officers were like, thank you so much for like smiling. And one of them, like the first or second day, she like literally was like, she said some weird term that I didn't know. She was like, you pop hot or something. Like, she was like, did you pop dirty? And I was like, I don't know what you mean. And she was like, did your drug test come back positive? And I was like, no, I don't think so. They told me that was a pregnancy test. Like, and she's like, oh, so you are just like naturally a really like happy, smiley person? And I was like, yeah, like I guess. Like, and she literally asked me if I was on drugs because I was like, seemed way too fucking happy to be in the dry cell. But it's like, I'm not gonna be rude. Like, that's just not who I am. Like, that's like you being rude to someone at a cash register because the line is too long, right? It's like, that's not their fucking fault. Like, if you're that kind of person, like, you're a shitty person. Like, I'm not gonna be rude to these officers who didn't put me in there, right? It was totally someone else. I'm not gonna be rude because it's just their job to look after me. Even when I was in there though, I was still like really trying to practice gratitude, be grateful for what I did have. Honestly, after being stuck in county jail for 2 days where I was completely alone, had no human interaction for a majority of the time, like I was in a cell by myself because I was on crutches with a sprained ankle and didn't have anyone to talk to. They didn't give me a book or anything. So in there, I was like still thinking, even though it was so horrible and so hot and so miserable and just like, literally, I felt like a lab rat or like I was in an insane asylum. I still was grateful that I had a book. I still was grateful that even though it was just officers in there, like I still could talk to the officer or like was still around someone. It was actually kind of nice to have someone like looking after me after being in county jail, where I didn't have that at all. I didn't have anyone to talk to or anything. So it's just the little things that you gotta appreciate. I was so grateful every time they came to check my vitals and I got to get out of the room for a second. Another thing that I remember just now is that every time I had to use the bathroom, like I said, they had to call down another officer to come escort me. And every time I had to go to the bathroom, they would be like, oh, like it's main line right now, or it's count time. So it's not really a good time. Like you're gonna have to wait like 20 minutes because something else was going. They had to pull an officer from like a different unit of the prison to come down. And they would be like busy doing something else basically. And it's like, why don't you just like, I don't know. The system of how that worked was so messed up. Like I could literally think of 100 different ways that they could do it better. And they should, like we should really get on this, people, because whatever they are doing is not effective. And then when I got out, finally, throughout my prison stay, I found out that this is like, it was not just me. This had happened multiple times. Like this happened to so many people that didn't have anything inside them and they got put in the dry cell for like a long time, and everyone was traumatized by it and everyone wanted to talk about it. And I was like, I don't want to talk about it. Like I'm really fucked up from it. And that's what made me also really upset, is that I was really thinking that the only reason I would be in there is if I actually had something, right? I thought I was like a fluke. And I was even asking, like, does this happen often where people are put in here under false pretenses? And they wouldn't answer me. They like would not give me an answer, but they made it seem like every single person that gets put in the dry cell is guilty. And so I was so confused as to why I was in there, right? I felt so freaked out and seriously thought that like there was no way for me to prove my innocence. Come to find out, pretty much everyone that gets put in there is innocent. It's like, we need to make a change, people. Like, how can they keep wasting their money paying an employee to sit and watch people 24/7 and it's not even effective? It doesn't even, like, I don't know, but that's my story of when I went in the dry cell. The end. Now I'm just pissed off, and I hope that this take turns out okay, because I really don't want to refilm it. If you feel bad for me, feel free to donate money to my Venmo or my Cashapp. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. Have a good day, you guys. Don't go to prison. Okay, one more thing that I just remembered really quick is that I just want to say thank you to the YouTube community, because I already told this story very quickly in like under a minute on TikTok, and every time I talk about my prison experience on TikTok, I get so many comments saying stuff like, oh, maybe you shouldn't have gotten arrested. Maybe you shouldn't do criminal activity. Like, maybe you shouldn't have gone to prison. Like, don't get incarcerated. And it's like, no shit. Like, I don't know. I just really appreciate you guys, because all of you in the comments are always so nice and so supportive, and I don't always get that on other platforms. Like, seriously, I'm like, obviously I know that, like, and it's too late for you to be telling me this now. So I just want to say thank you for all the love and support and all the kind words and encouragement, and I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so, so much. All right, love you, bye.